Hi friends, my name's Host Eric, host Talking to Famous People, and in this video I think I'm going to title How Einstein Helps Explain Why Eric's Right About Cognitive Functions. So, this is a nice thing I found online, all stuff written by Einstein. We can distinguish various kinds of theories. Most of them are constructive. They attempt to build up a picture of the more complex phenomenon out of the materials of a relatively simple formal scheme from which they start out, i.e., to build them up out of hypotheses. When we say we have succeeded in understanding a group of natural processes, we invariably mean that a constructive theory has been found which covers the processes in question. Along with this, there exists a second, which I call principle theories. These employ the analytic, not the synthetic method. These elements which form their basis and starting point are not hypothetically constructed but empirically discovered. In other words, they're built on observations. So when I say it's indisputable that deliberation and knowledge are the same thing, they do comprise necessarily different manners of attention, and it's impossible to dispute that without spitting in the face of universally acknowledged observation of other people and ourselves. Thus, the science of thermodynamics seeks by analytical means to deduce necessary conditions which separate events have to satisfy from the universally experienced fact that perpetual motion is impossible. The advantages of the principle theory are logical perfection and the security of the foundations. The theory of relativity is an example of a logical theory, principle theory, okay? The kind of work that I do. And I'm saying this is what cognitive functions is as well. So when we're talking about like the big five in cognitive functions, what Einstein is trying to say here is there's nothing wrong with the big five approach, but he would acknowledge that certain kinds of areas of analysis are more suited to this principled approach. You might also call it an axiomatic approach. The supreme task of the physicist is the search for those most elementary laws from which the world picture is to be obtained through pure deduction. No logical path leads to these elementary laws. It is instead just the intuition that rests on an empathetic understanding of experience. In this state of methodological uncertainty, one can think that arbitrarily many and themselves equally justified systems of theoretical principles were possible. And this opinion in principle seems certainly correct. Note, this is the problem we're having with cognitive functions, right? People think, well, there must therefore be many equally justified systems of theoretical principles. But the development of physics has shown that all the conceivable theoretical constructions of a single one has, at any given time, proved itself unconditionally superior to all the others. No one who has really gone deeply into the subject will deny that in practice the world of perceptions determines the theoretical system unambiguously, even though no logical path, but instead intuition, I added that there, those three words, leads from the perceptions to the basic principles of the theory. So, the thing is, it's easy to explain the TI, it's difficult to explain the intuition, and even if I do explain the TI well, it's often the case that people can't understand the TI. But for people who don't particularly value my TI explanations and don't trust what I'm saying fundamentally about the nature of science and theories and philosophies, perhaps you'll trust Einstein instead. Einstein is a philosopher first and a scientist second. And what he says here is critically important. But the development of physics has shown that of all the conceivable theoretical constructions, a single one has, at any given time, proved itself unconditionally superior to all the others. In this instance, my understanding of cognitive functions is correct. It's unconditionally superior to all of the others. It's not about results. It's not about So, well, this test is pretty good heuristic at getting people right. It's not about that. That's not what it means to be unconditionally superior to the others. What it means to be unconditionally superior is to be the correct explanation instead of the wrong explanation. So, for those of you who think that there's multiple systems out there, that they all get a piece of the action. It doesn't work like that. Not when you're modeling things. When you're just taxonomying things, fine. But when you're actually modeling things, and especially if you're going to model them properly, which in this instance is going to require this principle-based model rather than a utilitarian-style model, I guess we'd call inductive model. So if you're approaching it with this kind of model, you're going to get it wrong. This isn't the kind of thing that's conducive to this kind of model. If you're approaching with this kind of model, you've probably already gotten it wrong because it's tricky. It takes a lot of good ideation, good experience with constructing cases, excellent TI, and a willingness to continue to revisit things for make sure they're working, and a willingness to jettison stuff that's not and replace with stuff that works better. It takes a lot of different factors and a lot of time to hone down to the one that's unconditionally superior to all the others. I went through 2 false models before I got to the correct one, and it's just been refined ever since, increasingly refined, and increasingly more definitively the model that matters. So I appreciate Einstein's support here. Right back at you, Einstein. Loved your theory of relativity. Thought it was great stuff. And it's good to know that what I've always been saying has what you call a solvency advocate in debate. A famous person who has respect, who's saying the same thing I've been saying for a long time, probably more eloquently than I have ever said. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.